guess what? Tomorrow is Easter for my family, so I will not be streaming tomorrow. Hey everybody, how's it going? Let's see, what's going on here? Saw Wookiees one question. Yep, so we're doing today because tomorrow's Easter. So, let's see, who's here today? Audrey and my Logified, Shenanigans. Hey there, Harmonic Sonics. Let's see, wasn't sure. Is he Davey and Joe Johnston? The Santiago Dog. Hey man, hope you're. Are you new? The drone is not from the Minimoog. The lead was from the Minimoog. The drone was from. One of them was from the Modwave, the Korg Modwave, and two others that come and go were from Omnisphere. I'll go into the sounds in a little bit. Who else is here? Casual Noises. Hello. Let's see, we mentioned the Wookiee, Quasi Wabbit. Hello, sir. Audrey says, okay. That, yeah, the composition didn't take long. It was just a jam. I did have a few things. I had a scene prepared though, because I just did it earlier, because it was fun. There was an update to the push and into Ableton today. And so I'm like making use of new stuff. And I think that's it. Hey, Doug. The lead was from the Minimoog. Yep. Let's see who else. Will Esplin, Tracy, Astralis, or Astralis? Astralis? I'm not sure how to put the emphasis on the syllable, but welcome. Andy Fireblade Musa, hey there. Marquis. And I think if I missed anyone else, I'm terribly sorry. If you have a question for me specifically, tag me, put at Synth Seeker at the beginning, or put a whole bunch of capital Qs, like a whole mess of them, and then it'll stand out and I'll see more. And I'll try and answer your question. I have an echo in my voice. Oh, you know what? Hang on. I bet the camera mics are on. Hold on. Hang on one second. I set up a new scene, and that probably the mics are on. Hang on. How's that, Audrey? Is my voice still echoey? Let me know. It shouldn't be. Is it better? Good. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, whenever I reset up all the cameras, they default to having the microphones on the camera be on, and I forget to turn them off. But that's okay. Let me know if it comes back. It's probably this camera. All right. So we'll see how it goes. All right. So what are we working with here today? So we've got the Minimoog here. Turn off some of that delay. A little too much, not delay, too much reverb. And we were nice and soft earlier. We were playing triangles. We were doing this kind of thing. Let me adjust here real quick. There we go. So the Minimoog. A little more. There we go. It came back, but it disappeared again. Still echoes sometimes. That's weird. Like just a tiny bit of echo, like a chorus. Hold on a second. I'm going to do an adjustment. Look at the phone here. The phone is my camera. There we go. Let me know if that's better. the camera mic was on manually, but I had muted it elsewhere. So I don't know. I sound like Darth Vader. Hang on. Let me just double check everything. Be extra careful. There's that one. Yeah, the sound's off on them. Maybe it's time to just wipe the whole setup and start over from a blank slate. It's back, and now I echo a lot. I wonder where it's coming from. Hang on a second. I got one other thing to try. Got to go look at the other camera. Hang on. How about now? Yep, the input configs are right in Ableton. Hey man, many hundreds of streams, and this only happens from time to time, so I'm okay. When I speak off axis, it's loud. No, Freddie, it's a pre-Easter stream. Fortunately, is it still echoing? That's really weird. Hang on. It's clean and okay now. Okay, Audrey. I'll roll with it. Let me know. It could be that I fixed it and then the people with latency were still hearing the old one. I don't know. We'll see. Not that big a deal. Anyway, so what are we working with today? So we're doing that. We still have the 4 Korg synths, the Minimoog, a couple instances of Omnisphere is what we're working with. So the Op6 is playing this little tone wheel organ. All right, I like that. The wave state's doing this infinite piano kind of thing. All right. Am I using the live beta? I am using the beta right now, but I guess, did it release overnight? I saw an update come through. My push said, welcome to 12.2. So, I don't know. We'll see. As soon as the 12.2 comes out, I'll flip over to using the regular and stop using the beta. Although the beta is pretty stable. The ModWave is doing this. Let me turn this drone down. ModWave was doing this interesting drone. If you came in at the beginning, this one's really cool because this is one of the things that's really nice about the wave state. The wave state has the wave sequencing, right? And the wave sequencing has 64 steps of translation between timbres. And they can go real slow, which this one is. So not only can you have like 64 different modulation patterns that it moves between, it can move between them randomly or in sequence, and you've got several lanes of modulation. Plus you could change the samples. And yeah, it's a very nice synth, but you can't, it's difficult to program. Well, it requires reading the manual, but I love this drone. It just does, it evolves much less cyclically than most of my other synths. Doug says the last version of Live is, the last release is 12.1.2. Okay, so I'm using 12.2 beta right now. And Audrey listened to a lot of Deep Purple in the last few days. You probably heard some tone wheel organ then. John Lord on the organ. Yep. Yeah, so you do. We can totally go there, Audrey. All right, so that's the ModWave. It's doing a really interesting drone. And then on the multi-poly, we've got a pluck. And so I'm using that as sort of a bed, right? And then we've got a couple drones that are coming out of Omnisphere. We've got this one. It's more of a bed than a drone. It's sort of minor key kind of feel. And then we had tell it not to sustain forever. And then we've got this one. This was the deeper one. This is more tonal, like just a mostly root with some high overtones. And those were coming out of Omnisphere, and then the Rick. All right. Those are the sounds we are working with today. We might change them up a little bit. So let's see. Wookie says, no Leslie or Marshall amp. Well, there is a... I could turn the... You can do that. It's not a great Leslie emulation. But when I transition it between fast and slow... Right? You hear it spin up, which is nice. Right? So it works pretty well. It's good enough. But I like it for that high. I actually like it for the non-Leslie high. That's slow. Right, you bring that in while the bed's playing underneath it. It's super fun. Let's see. Tracy's reading the manual. Are you RTFMing on the Sonic Wave Ambient Zero today? Excellent. It's a nice synth. Mine is on London Task Boy. I don't know if he's still here. He was here earlier. Let's see. Doug, you ask, interesting way you're playing a chord with one finger on one button. And one, yeah, so these are fourths, right? In this mode, right? That's a fourth, and then a fourth on top of this one, right? It's very jazzy. And I do it sort of like a shell chord. I don't necessarily play the middle, although that's the third right there. So like. The shapes, once you learn the shapes, that's why I like grid controllers, right? And I like them in this chromatic mode because the shapes are always the same, right? That's always a minor third, right? That's always a minor third, an octave up, right? So if I do a fourth over that, this works. It sounds good to me. I don't know the theory very well, right? But I know what I like the sound of. Right, hold down a note, let it drone in the low end, and then if you put enough delay and reverb on it, anything sounds good, right? We should sample like a sneeze and just use it as an instrument. So, yeah, tomorrow's Easter. So we're streaming today because tomorrow at 1:30, my sister and father and brother-in-law are coming over. And potentially the child of, that would be my nephew. I was going to say the child of my sister-in-law. It's like, oh, wait, I'm Uncle Luke. So that would be my nephew. My nephew might be coming by, and my offspring will be arriving tomorrow too, allegedly. So it's fun. My kid got their commercial driver's license. They passed their commercial driver's license tests. Here in the United States, you have to take a series of 3 tests to be able to drive a commercial vehicle, like a large truck or a bus or something like that. And he passed those tests that lets him join the union and then and begin actually learning the training. He's going to work for the state of Massachusetts as a bus driver on public transportation. So it's pretty good. Pays really well. Pension, all that good stuff. We're very proud of him. So anyway, I know I am Uncle Luke. So anyway, we'll see all the family tomorrow. And that is why we're streaming today, because tomorrow is Egg Day. Although we had an Easter egg hunt this morning in our yard for the little girl next door. There's like one child in our neighborhood. Most of our neighborhood is full of people who are older than us. But next door is a 6-year-old who's adorable. Her parents are Jewish, but they kind of like do Christmas too. And so when we moved in, we were like, do you want us to do an Easter egg hunt for her? We'll hide a bunch of candy-filled plastic eggs around our yard and she can just find them if she wants. It doesn't necessarily have to be like Easter. It could be bunnies and eggs and stuff. And that's a tradition now. So she came and did that this morning. It was fun. One little girl, 6 years old, trying to find 36 plastic eggs spread out over our 1/4 acre. It was quite relaxing. So it worked out okay. Anyway, so let's okay, I don't see any questions. Let's do a quick jam. Let's do some more stuff here. And let's start with what do we want to start with? We'll do another. Let's challenge myself. Let's do a drone again, and let's start with a drone. Everything I do ends up turning into Prague, right? Or Berlin School. Let's try and make this one very droney with just a hint of Berlin School in it, right? So we'll start with this. We'll start with this this pluck, and we will put some reverb on it. Something big reverb. All right. And we'll do an odd number of bars. We're just going to improvise this. We do a little repetition to legitimize. This is the multi-poly, by the way. I want to talk about this patch in a second. All right, so that's a 25 bar pattern. It's real sparse. It's playing on the Korg multi-poly, which does an interesting thing. It's got 4 layers, and each of the 4 layers in this patch have a pluck, but they're slightly different timbres and slightly different modulation. And it's rotating through the layers every time I play a note. Something that the multi-poly, it's one of the things on its spec sheet that people are really liking. And the fact that the arpeggiator will do that is interesting, but you can do it just by playing, which is what we're doing here. So if you listen to these notes as they go by, you'll hear that each of them has a slightly different timbre, and it's rotating through 4 different timbres. I'll shut up for a minute. Hey, Reg Vernal. Are you new? Welcome aboard. All right. So now let's do... We know we could fit a drone under this. Let's do a 1-bar Berlin School bass sort of blender sort of thing. We want it to start quiet though. Something like that. We want it to be high though. We're going to try that. It helps if you actually make it the right bar length. Hold on a second. All right, now what we're going to do, we're going to tell that bass to just sustain while it's playing. So rather than doing, it's as though we're letting the strings stay ringing. Then we're going to up the delay on it to kind of smear it out. So hold on a second. Make it a little quieter, and we're gonna let a drone run under it. A couple of them. Mix everything a bit. Try and get the levels about right. Happy Easter, Culture of Ghosts. Thank you. And we're streaming today. It's tomorrow's Easter, and we're with family. Cool, Reg. Well, welcome to the streams. Hey. Sound and vision as well. Hey there. If I missed anyone else coming in, sorry about that. Again, if you want me to answer a question, just tag me. Do an ad Synth Seeker, or stick a bunch of capital Q's at the beginning. Now, let's do an experiment. We've got the bass doing this little pattern. We've also got the multi-poly doing a real sparse pluck thing. We've got the Mini Moog lead. We're going to keep that in reserve. But we've got this tone wheel organ. I think I'm going to copy the multi-poly pattern over to the tone wheel organ. And we're going to layer them and then change their phase so that one's shorter than the other, so they'll phase in and out of each other. Let's try that. Shorten this a little bit. Plucks are so short you really can't hear the organ, so I'm going to tell the organ plucks to be a little longer. There we go. Let's see what happens here when they come around. they're playing in unison right now. They're about to go out of phase though, here. You can hear they're not playing in unison anymore. So we've got a nice little bed here. I'm going to let it run through once. Biscuit asks, in your opinion, am I wasting money buying external effects when effects can be done in the box? It is entirely up to you, Biscuit, half god, half beast. In the box effects are easier to use, better fidelity, and you can buy an effect once and use it 100 times in the same piece of music simultaneously. External effects, generally you can only apply to a bus and then run a bunch of things through it and deal with mixing them, their output together. But you don't have a physical panel if you've got it in the box. And if you've got a physical effect outside, a hardware effect, you have physical knobs that you can lay your hands on. And it really comes down to personal preference of what you can do. I'm effects heavy. I apply a lot of effects, and I swap effects in and out a lot, and that would just be cost prohibitive in hardware for me. So I use Ableton basically as a mixer, an effects processor, and a recorder, a multi-track tape recorder. And then of course the push is my playing surface. So it's up to you. Are you wasting money? No. I mean, I have a bunch of pedals. I have a pedal collection, but I play with them. Like I connect a synth to a pedal, run it into the mixer, and then put my headphones on and just play with it. I have fun like a kid. And that's super fun, and I'm not going to get rid of my pedals. I enjoy it. But in production or streaming, I do not use hardware pedals. I don't use hardware effects. I use in-the-box effects. I just don't want to deal with things. I don't want to deal with noise, interference, power supply, extra cables, like, but I can't reach across. The push gives me some knobs, and I can turn some knobs and play them. So there's sort of a midway path there. But if you really want to get like a dual delay unit, that's got dual timing knobs and a couple other things, and you can, get all 4 fingers on it and start playing it like this. People really get into that. And so if that's fun for you, do it. How's that for a non-answer answer? You almost bought a Boss stereo delay. Oh, like what? Like a DD8 or something like that? Little white box. Hey, Sidejecks. Happy almost Easter. Yeah, I mean, especially if you're shooting for fidelity. Like, I have noise problems when I start using external gear. An SDE3. I don't know that one. I mean, the market for Boss pedals is good, used market, so you can always get one and explain it, right? Color. All right, so we've got this nice bed. So this is very droney, and our bass and our 2 pluck sort of layers, our organ and our multi-poly are very Berlin school bed. Right? Like you could just let this go, take some form of refreshment. You turn down the lights, turn up the lava lamp, and go for it. Let's play with the Mini Moog a little bit. Let's make it square waves so it's nice and hollow. in unison here. Turn our filter down. Turn our glide up as long as we're getting spacey. A little bit more. Echo. Let's see what the sawtooths sound like. I need a little less reverb now. Engine 9's them all. Hey there. Milk chocolate or dark? Dark. Let's see. Have I missed anyone? Nah. Hey, Cressy. How's it going, man? Thanks, Reg. Let's put a little rhythm behind it. Change the bass out. Let's replace the bass. Whoops, missed the loop. There we go. Now it's fixed. put a piano part in. Chord changes, shall we? A little too much glide. Always fun to transpose the lead after you record it. Got a little weird note in there somewhere. Let's see if I can find it. It's like a little trill. Hang on, I'm dialing through the clip. There it is. off the loops. I don't like it. We'll go with the other one. Go back to the root. I think that's good. I think we'll bring it out. We'll bring the drones back in. There we go. Let's let this drone in the background while we chat for a minute. All right. All right, so that was that. Let's see if I'm missing any questions here. Thank you, Andy. Mr. Musa. Let's see. Questions. Reg said, I think I heard that Rickenbacker sound in your last stream. You love it. Thank you. That's my bass. I make that sound all over the place. I made a video about how to recreate it if you want to do it. Just search for Synth Seeker Rick bass. Biscuit asks, what's the lead synth? That's a Minimoog. Let me bring it back up. With a whole lot of delay and reverb. So, Cressy asks, so what happens if you hit an unlit pad on the push? Now, no sound or an off key. The way it is currently set up, if you play out of the key, if you play not, it's in chromatic mode, but if you play out, it forces it in. And the reason it's doing that, Chris, is because these buttons over here will do in-key diatonic transposition. So I don't want to transpose, if I transpose this up a third, I don't want to push things out of the key. So I've got it set up so that it actually constrains everything in the key. But I can disable that if I choose to. So, because I like to play things from outside the key, but for jamming, for diatomic transposition, it's way easier. So it's easy to set up too. So you can turn it on and off. Let's see, who else? Hey, Inverted Popes. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, there's a scale device. There's a bunch of scale-aware stuff in Ableton. I'm pretty sure it's the same, and you can do it in lots of things. I'm sure you can do it in Bitwig. We were talking about it many moons ago. Reg asks, curious that you use a launchpad as well as the push. Can you explain why? So, yeah, I was just talking about that. So this, I'll give you a quick demonstration. This 3x5 matrix here, the middle green is whatever key I've got this set to, right? So what are we in right now? We're in something weird. We're in F sharp. We're in F sharp minor. So that's an F sharp. I have all of the instruments set up so that if I change any of these buttons, and what it is there's 7, imagine this middle thing is 0, and then we can transpose up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 scale degrees, or we could transpose down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 scale degrees. So that's an F sharp. If I transpose up 1 scale degree, all right, so that's up an octave. And here's going down. All right, so what that lets me do is, if I turn on, I'll just turn on a bass line. Hang on a second. Stop. Okay, so this bass pattern's playing. All right, and when I recorded it, I was just playing, let's go back here. So I was playing octaves here. And while this loop is playing, I can transpose it around. Right? So it lets me do chord progressions over here, and it forces every pattern that's playing to follow my chord progressions. So I start the jam out as a composer, writing patterns. And then once the patterns are in, I let them play, and I go over here and I become an arranger, and I move things around the key. All right, and they all shift and move in key. So if I will turn these two back on. So here are 4 patterns playing, right? They're all subject to this transposition stuff. Here they've all gone up, right? They're up 5 scale degrees now. And I'll take them down 2 scale degrees, right? So it lets me arrange. So I compose, I jam and compose, and then I arrange, and you can go back. And you can have scenes, right? And you could fill them up. So I'm filling up scenes as I go. Oops. I don't want to shout over the stuff. So I compose a scene and transpose it around, and then I move to the next scene and I compose parts of a scene, and I move it and I transpose it around. And that's how I play. And that's what this control surface is for. So I hope that explains it, Raj. Hey Jay, good to see you. Doug asks, so basically the launch pad triggering scenes in the push is for melody. For the most part, yeah. You can combine these two together and use like user mode on the push to define this stuff, and it would appear here and I could do it. But it's just more convenient to have it over here because I can leave the push then either in pattern triggering mode or in playing mode. Right? So I tend to use this to record stuff. I flip over to clip mode to understand what's playing and trigger things, turn things on and off, and then use this to do transpositions. And I've got some sliders set up here so I can do modulations if I want to, and I mute my mic with that button there. So that's how it works basically. And then I've got some faders over here for bringing up. Hang on a second. I've got some faders over here for rhythm. I usually drop 2 rhythm loops in. Right, and I bring them in and out as needed. There's just some faders. Yeah, the noodler is definitely in that vein, right? There's lots of... So scale awareness is what enables this. And it's baked into Ableton as of like the middle of Ableton 11. We're up to 12.2 now, but it's so useful. Everything's got it now. So like the multi-poly synth, which is right here, has totally scale aware. It's arpeggiator. You can transpose the arpeggiator around, but you can tell it what key and mode you're in, what root note and mode you're in, and it'll keep things diatonically transposed in key, just like this thing does. But there's limitations, right? So, Cress had asked can you play, what happens if you play outside the key, like these unlit notes? So there's that. If I play outside, that's the same note. Right? So you literally can't play outside the key unless you enable it. Like I used to map another row of buttons over here that would turn this on and off. And then I could play outside the key. Because like if you want to do more non-diatonic stuff, if you want to pull in notes and chords, you want to borrow chords from other modes, or you want to do jazz and you want to play, you know, a weird augmented fourth or something like that, you can't in this mode. What I'm doing right now, I literally cannot play outside the key. So then that's a limitation too, right? So, and yeah, the rhythm loops are stylus. They're just stylus loops. Nothing fancy. This is a push 3. I used push 2 for 10 years, Chris. I bought the push 1, and then like a year later, the push 2 came out, and I bought one of those, and I used it for like 10 years. And then when the 3 came out, I upgraded to that. And I fully expect that this one will last me another 10 years. Ableton's really good about keeping their hardware in play, not like replacing it. So yeah, this is a 3. And it's nice. I like it. And I have a rant about MPE. I'm not a fan of MPE. I like expression. I just don't like the way MPE does it. I prefer MIDI 2.0, but Ableton and the Push do not yet support MIDI 2.0, but that's okay because I'm not a very expressive player, so that's all right. Oh, geez, it's 3:06. All right, so I've been doing this for about an hour. They are very well built. They're built very sturdily. So Reg says he is also not a fan. Well, no, I'm not a fan of MPE. I'm not dissing MPE itself, but what it is MPE, from my perspective, I'm going to rant. Here we go. Buckle up. MPE is a hack that uses basically extra channels across the 16 channels available on a MIDI port to have a note be on each individual channel. So like when you play a 4-note chord in MPE, you're using 4 MIDI channels, 1 for each note. And that's super wasteful and it really screws with things if you're in a studio like mine where I've got a single MIDI port and it's being split amongst 5 keyboards, right? So these, if I had 5 MPE aware keyboards, they would each need their own port, or at least share, every couple would need to share a port and be limited to 8-note polyphony. And so for some people it works, but for me, it's sort of an expedient hack and it bugs me. The engineer in me is annoyed by that hack. I much prefer the MIDI 2.0 thing, but it's going to take 10 years for MIDI 2.0 to go through. So yes, I use MPE expression occasionally on the Push because it is very expressive. It works perfectly fine. I've laid my hands on an Osmos. Osmos is a great keyboard, right? But again, MPE sort of became super, super popular with the advent of USB MIDI, where every synth gets its own USB port. And so it has all of those channels, to itself. It can take them all. So that's all. It's fine. If you have an MPE synth, if you've got an Osmos or something, go for it. Have fun with it, right? I also play monophonic lines, so I don't play chords. So mono channel aftertouch works great for me because I'm never really playing more than 1 note at a time. So Tracy asks, if you can't play outside the key in that layout, are all the dark keys disabled? No, they just play the nearest key. So like this one here, same notes, right? So that's the way it works, Tracy. Poly Aftertouch is cool too, right? But Poly Aftertouch also depends a lot on the synth. I have 2 synths with Poly Aftertouch here, and they're very nice, but they're very different too. So you really, no matter what you do, you're going to have to learn your control surface, regardless of whether you're using Poly Aftertouch or MPE, because if you've got a vintage Poly Aftertouch keyboard, like I'm not even going to say the Yamaha one because almost nobody has those unless you repair them. Right? But like a Hydrasynth, like I have a Hydrasynth Deluxe, it works great. I've also got an Ensoniq SD1. Both of those are have polyphonic aftertouch, but they feel completely different and their curves are different and they behave differently. So I got used to playing on the Hydrasynth, and then when I got the SD1, I struggled to play it. I struggled to play expressively polyphonically because I'm not a very good keyboard player. But They just feel different. So yeah, part of my rant is I don't like it when people ding a synth for not having poly aftertouch. It's not that's not like, I'd give it an A plus, except it doesn't have poly aftertouch. It's like, that's for the majority of people who are buying synths, doesn't matter, right? Like 95% of the synths sold in the world are sold to hobbyists. Okay. They're mostly sold to hobbyists. I went and looked this up last week, actually. Someone else was saying that wasn't true. And so I went and found some market research, and it is true. Most synthesizers are sold to people like me who have a studio in their home and they enjoy them and they play them, right? It doesn't like, Keith is no longer with us, Keith Emerson. You pick another famous keyboard player who's still alive, who's from Dream Theater. That guy with the beard. Who's in Dream Theater? Quick chat. Who's the keyboardist from Dream Theater? Jordan Rudess. Yeah, it's Jordan Rudess. Like, he's an amazing player, and he can totally make use of a poly aftertouch keyboard. Oh, but so going back to it, most of the keyboards sold in the world are not sold to people like Jordan Rudess. They're sold to people like me, right? Who's just a dude, right, with some keyboards in his room. And so the keyboard companies, when they're figuring out what they want to do with their products, they're targeting you and me. They're not targeting Jordan Rudess, right? Because we buy all the synths. Anyway, okay, I'm getting off my soapbox now. Let's see. What else is going on? I don't see any other tags. Minimoog doesn't even have any velocity. This is true, right? The newer Minimoogs, this one, does have a velocity CV out that you can go plug into the the VCA amplitude in. So you can, with the new keyboard, because the 2016 and the 2022 Minimoogs have digital keyboards. And so they are capturing velocity and transferring it to CV, which you can then route to the VCA and get a velocity sensitive volume on a Minimoog now with the newer models. But yeah, like the classics, they don't even do that. And this doesn't respond to MIDI velocity. So if I play softly, doesn't matter whether I play soft or hard, velocity on my control surface, it's going to be the same amplitude here, because I don't have that routed. So anyway, hey Tracy, I don't know. I went and pulled. You could pull market data from Google, from a couple. There's a couple free places you can get market data from. Google and this place called like Statisma or something like that, and that's where I went. I went and looked for actual market data, and they want me to pay like $2,000 for access to it, and I'm like, not that motivated. I just wanted to know what's the size of the market, right? And the market's humongous, and there just aren't that many professionals, but there's tons of hobbyists, so it's pretty clear. You can read like the synopsis of the papers. They won't give you the actual data, but if you read that opening paragraph that says this is the general findings, and if you want the details you have to pay them. But anyway, I think we all qualify as hobbyists, Marky. It's all good. So I'd rather be called an amateur than a pro, right? Because I have a career. I make my income from doing work, and I make my joy from amateur things, right? I think people have talked enough about pro versus amateur. I'd rather be an amateur, right? It means that I love the thing I'm doing, not that it's not a job. Because let's face it, when something gets turned into a job, it stops being fun for a lot of people, for the majority of people, I think. My Logify asks, do you think Hydrasynth is a little bit more menu divey than any other synths, or than other synths, or DAWs? I think the Hydrasynth is very not menu divey. That little context map in the lower right-hand corner of the Hydrasynth that lets you like press, I want to talk to oscillator 1, or I want to talk to filter 1, or VCA 1, or mutator 1. You press the button and it sets the context for the macro knobs. It's super nice. It's not very menu divey at all. All the Ensoniq synths also do that. I like the Hydrasynth. I have a deluxe. I tried to sell it for about 2 weeks, and I think I've changed my mind. I'm going to keep it. So, Audrey says he's a beginning amateur. Audrey, I've heard some noises you make. You're not a beginner. You You are you. It's fine. You play music, and play implies fun. Exactly, Biscuit. The DX7 is a real menu diver. So if I had to say what is my favorite FM synth, I would definitely say the Op6. The Op6 makes FM synthesis fun. Absolutely makes it fun. And if you want to do it in software, the Op6 native software synth is a thing, but it's expensive. It's $200. Go see how much Native Instruments FM8 costs, because that as an FM synth also makes it fun-ish. Not as much fun as an Op6, but the FM8 is a great VST, FM VST. And I think it's like $50 or something like that. And I'm sure there are free ones. There's free implementations of the DX7, but the question is, do they give you a nicer programming interface than, because like VSTs that are emulations of real-world synths that emulate even the sucky UI, I don't want that. Like Arturia. Some of Arturia's earlier V collection synths, like back in the day, they didn't have the nice folding open UI for more control. It was just the panels itself, and they were not fun to program because the synths they were modeling were not fun to program. So anyway, keep the Hydra, one of us. Yes, Joe. I think I'm gonna keep it. It's just that it's so damn big. I gotta find a place for it. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. Let's see. Harmonix says, pretty soon I may get an Iridium core, or a multi-poly, maybe a Z1. Between the Iridium core and the multi-poly, I'd get the multi-poly because I have an Iridium, like not the core. I've got a full-blown Iridium, and I still prefer the multi-poly. And the Iridium's extremely powerful, but it's not fun to use. Its panel is pretty bad. That's my opinion. Sorry if anyone out there's got an Iridium and they love it. Sorry. I'm not a fan. And I've owned one for almost 5 years now, and I don't reach for it. The panel is unpleasant to me. But the multi-poly, I've only owned for a couple months, granted, and we always like the most recent synth we buy, yes. But the panel on the multi-poly is awesome. I think I talked about that a couple in the last video. Yeah, what's the Electron FM synth is supposed to be really fun, but I'm not an Electron guy. I had an Octatrack and a what was their first drum machine? Electrons. I had that one, and they were both fine, except that the Octatrack I wasn't willing to put in the work, so I ended up selling it. So. Yeah, Electron stuff. I don't know the Seek track, Cressy, but I think there's a lot of Groovebox oriented FM things that are awesome. Like I like the Nord Drum 3P's FM synths, the FM drums. Their drum engines, the FM ones, are super fun to play with, and I think it's because there's a good panel in front of it. So really, it comes down to if your FM synth has membrane keyboard, it has button. If it has a data entry slider and a membrane keyboard, it's probably not fun to program, right? But if it's got knobs and big sliders, it's probably okay. Reg, the multi-poly is available as a VST. It's $200. So, and that's what I use to do sound design on the couch on my laptop, and then I throw the sounds over to the hardware, and it works great. I'm trying to get caught up in the chat here. Small little screens. My eyes are pretty bad, Davey. I hear you there. The Korg VSTs are pretty easy to program. The multi-poly certainly is. They're getting better. Their patch management is weird. You have to use the VST, but you also have to use the editor librarian if you want to move it to hardware. It's kind of annoying. Modal has it right. Modal's librarian is like drag and drop back and forth from the synth. Nord's is the same way. It's much better. So synth people, take note. All right, let's see. It's 3:20. I'm going to call it a day because I got to get ready for Easter, man. I got a whole bunch of people coming over tomorrow. And I got a ham to bake. And I got green bean casserole to make today. Make a bunch of sides tonight. And then we'll do the ham in the morning. So Yeah. Okay, Reg, have fun with that weasel. Everyone, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate that you hung out, and I will see you next Sunday, normally. And if not, that's cool. I'll see you around. See you on other people's streams. I try and pop into various streams. I don't have a ton of time. Work is crazy, so I try and pop in on streams. I try and hit synchrotrons every Saturday for at least an hour. I try and pop in on the Symptoms of Reality gang at least once a week. And I can never stay long, but it is what it is. I'll hit Davey up, when I can. But everybody have fun, and I will see you later. I am going to kill the stream, and have a great Easter if you do Easter, and if you don't, have a great rest of your weekend.